And I truly feel like my life has been about being a contrarian, about not being afraid of stepping up against the grain. And I think that's what we need today is, first and foremost, a recognition that I didn't see when I went to Washington. A recognition that you are the customer, not the people in D.C. Now, that fundamental principle of you, the customer, changes the way we look at our job as legislators, that our job is to serve, not to be served. I think when you spend money disrespectfully, the audacity, to use somebody else's term, of spending money disrespectfully, that shows the customer that you don't value how hard it was for them to earn that dollar and to send it to you. I feel very fortunate because in my family business, I had the experience of seeing small businesses all over this country drive the engine for their communities. And I saw the daily sacrifice that they made for their families, for the vision that they had to fill a need for that community. And they made a lot of sacrifices to make that happen. My own family business carries that same torch. And I carry that within my heart every day I get up and do this. Because I believe the people, the S-Corps, the LLCs, the small businessmen and women around this state, around this country, have been lacking a voice. And they have been disrespected. They have been disrespected, and it's demonstrated by a few things that I want to focus on as I start my career in politics. I'm not going to try and tackle everything, as I was saying to a fine gentleman earlier. I'm going to keep it simple with things that align with my principles, my values, and who I am, and I will legislate off of that. I will not let policy dictate my principles. My principles will dictate my policies. And I am not ashamed of low taxes. And I am not one to stand up and say the Bush tax cuts are low enough. We need to go lower.
Thank you.
Hey! All right. Got an amen. Folks, we are 3 times that of Ireland on a corporate tax rate. And some people say on a C Corp, what does that mean on a corporate tax rate 3 times that of Ireland? Does it matter to me? I'm a small businessman. I'm telling you, because we're 3 times that of Ireland, what ends up happening is the small businesses, the dreamers, the people that create 2 out of every 3 jobs out there in America carry the burden of the taxes that have to go to Washington because the corporations, the multinationals, open shop in Ireland or Slovakia or Europe. And that's something we need to make clear, that America is open for business. Open for business. I understand cause and effect, and behind everything that we do and every decision that is made in the legislative branch, behind that policy, there's somebody on the other side receiving that or dealing with that. And I learned that very early on. I'm going to cite a story with my dad. I love my father and mother. They're truly my inspiration because every day they go, they get up and make it happen, and they work with independent dreamers, and they fight the fight every day. And it's exactly why I believe in a can-do society, because of that. And, it's interesting. I was having an early discussion with my father, and I want to cite this. He might not remember. He's panicking right now. It was one of our You're an Idiot sessions. Just kidding. But it's a lot easier to take on Nancy Pelosi than, get in trouble with that. So I went ahead and I went in his office. I said, Dad, I got a great idea. I got this great idea, and I really want you to, what do you think? And he says, oh, that's interesting. He says, but do you know how it affects, I'm cleaning it up, how it affects every single department and the end user, like the customer, with what your thought was? I said, well, no. He goes, well, Stephen, when you run a business, you have to think it all the way through the purchasing department, the sales department, the warehousing, and how the customer is going to live with that thought. I said, well, okay, that makes sense to me. So I learned early on that whole philosophy of thinking it all the way through. And then I started learning about government. And I thought, boy, that's just the opposite. That is the opposite of what I was taught. That at the end of every idea, there's somebody receiving that. And that person who's receiving it today, I'm saddened to say, doesn't have a voice. Doesn't have a voice. Even in our Republican Party, at times we became now we're pretty much the jellyfish. We got to stand up for low taxes, and we can't be ashamed of that. We can't be ashamed that the American dreamer and the process to success has got to be celebrated, has got to be encouraged. And the yes we can that Barack Obama says is not backed up by the principles and philosophy his party stands for. It is on our side of the aisle that stands and respects the liberty and freedom and the process to success, and it is something I will champion when I go to Congress with your help.
All righty. Yeah.